Hi, my name is Daniel Weise. I'm a resident of Beacon. I've lived here for the past 8 to almost 9 years. I'm an artist and a designer, and the question of the day is, does voting matter? Does voting matter? That's a big question, and my immediate answer is yes, voting totally matters. Voting is a privilege that not every place in the world has. And the places that do have it, it empowers the public to get involved. You can get philosophical about whether or not your individual vote actually makes a difference in the grand scheme of things, and I think that's thinking about voting in a far too personal respect. I think voting is a community responsibility, and the more the community feels that it matters, the more impact that it has. So yes, I think voting matters.
So since you brought up the individual aspect of voting, actually, now that I think about it, so can you give an example of when you feel like your act of voting mattered?
Yes. I'm trying to remember the specifics. It was one of my earlier experiences of voting in Denver, Colorado. I was 19 or something like that, and I was technically a resident because I was in college, but I changed my driver's license over and I registered to vote and everything. And in our district, we were in this little tiny subset of Denver called Glendale, and I don't remember there was some. I wish I remembered the specifics of the vote, but it was like a little local community vote about I think it had something to do with strip clubs, and Glendale had this like large, like this weird strip club law that basically they had quite a few strip clubs in Glendale, and then Denver, which is like outside of Glendale, had way less, and it was really strange. There was some sort of vote that had to do with the expansion, like to allow more strip clubs. And although you would think a 19-year-old would be all for it, I wasn't, mostly because of traffic and all these other sort of civic issues. So I voted against it. I went and I voted. And the voting turnout was pretty dismal. It was in the like a few hundred people, but the vote against this expansion was like 4 or 5 votes that made it them not expand.
Oh,
so at that point, I felt that my vote was one of those 4 or 5 votes that allowed this measure not to pass.
Right.
So, that was out of a few hundred votes, but it was open to voting for citizens of Glendale, and that is one of my first experiences of voting really matter.
Strip club.
No strip club.